At this point, I'd like to have Bobcat come on up and stand beside me here, and we'll take any questions. I'd like to take questions from the media first.
Coach, do you feel like you've addressed the needs of your team in this class?
Absolutely. You know, we really felt that we had to get some players at every position except quarterback. If you notice on the list, we did not take a quarterback this year. But every other position we felt we had to fill, and we do have players at each one of those other positions.
60% of the guys
that you weren't able to recruit for?
No, I really feel good about the class, Ted. We had, every position we wanted to have somebody there, and we filled every position with at least one quality player. 60%
of these guys are from the states of California and Texas. Why are those two states so important for your recruiting efforts?
Well, that's where we send our guys. That's where we've got our recruiters go there, so hopefully they'll find some guys. It's very important. We send 3 guys to Texas. We had 2 full-time guys in California. Coach Von Bergen was able to get 1 player out of Oregon. Coach Matt got 2 linemen out of Minnesota and Iowa. So we did, every area where we sent coach, we did get somebody, but where we sent the most coaches, that's where we got the most players. So it's a return on the investment, really the personal investment in our time and resources is what returns those numbers.
8 players coming from Texas, it's so far away from Montana, it's so different. I mean, how have you been so successful recruiting players from there?
I'll take a quick shot at that, and I might have Bo address that too because he recruits down there, but I think it's primarily, first and foremost, our reputation is really good in Texas right now. People down there, the coaches and even the players, they know, they've heard about Montana State, they know Texas guys go to Montana State and play and that we win, and I think that's a real positive thing, and I think our Texas guys who are here do a great job of hosting those players when they come up on their visits. Anything to add on that?
I'd say, the one thing that you see from the Texas guys is that if it's the same level type recruiting, that this program is big. They like the big stadium. They love the support, the weight room, everything that is about it. It's what their expectation is. And so when you try to get them up here and things like that, you just got to get them on the plane. And every one of them will tell you before you left, it's a lot bigger than I thought it was. And I think that's key too. It's funny, I got a text from Coach K today, who is Bryce Alley's coach, and he said that they're playing Euless on the 4th game of the week, and to come down, it'll be one-stop shopping for us.
I might have to send a coach to that game. That's right. It's a good idea.
Rob, could you put the entire recruiting class into one statement that you think is the most important thing about this class?
I think it's a deep and talented class, and by deep I mean that we've got several guys across the board on this class that I think really will be good players. It's not a class that's highlighted by 3 or 4 stars and then just a bunch of other guys that will fill in. I think at every position we have quality players. That's what I mean by deep and talented. They had to survive a very tough competition to become guys that we offered scholarships to. I think Bo would agree with me. We've been here 7 years now, going on 8, but I think our recruiting board, which means the candidates that our coaches found who were interested in us and were being considered for scholarships, that board was as deep as we've ever had here. So the selections were very competitive, and the guys who won the contest when we evaluated them and were the guys we offered were, high quality players.
You talked about the headliner being Grant Collins. Can you kind of talk about the recruiting process for him and how you were able to get him onto this program?
Well, first of all, I'll say Grant was highly recruited. It wasn't a situation where he just fell into our lap because he was here in town and it was easy, although it helped that he is from in town. He's got some Bobcat connections and family, of course, all throughout Bozeman. But, he looked at a lot of places and a lot of places looked at him. He's a high-quality player, Mountain West, Pac-12, Big Sky teams, very, very interested in Grant, and it came down to it. I think he just had a comfort level with the Bobcats, and once again, to echo what Bo said, just the support and following we have here for Bobcat football ended up, I think, being huge in his decision. He also had a really good visit, which was interesting for an in-state or in-town guy to come on the official visit, and the guys stay in a hotel, but they spend 2 nights on campus with the guys, and they go stay in the hotel, so he's not staying at home. And I think that was really a key part of the whole process for Grant. I think after 2 days here, he realized when he goes to college, he will be moving away from home, even though he's going to Montana State, which is right here in town. And I think that was a big part of the process for him.
2 of the schools that you guys recruit so heavily against in Texas were going through coaching changes. What role do you think that played in the success in Texas this year?
I think in the case of Stephen F. Austin, it might have helped us a little bit. I think in the case of Sam Houston, I don't think it made any difference at all. Sam Houston was finished recruiting by Christmas this year. They got way ahead. Willie Fritz had done a really nice job. They had all their guys picked out, and so there wasn't any. They weren't around. They were already done, and they had a small class too. But in the case of Stephen F. Austin, it probably helped us a little bit.
Coach, you mentioned Grant Collins, Austin Oldenburger, Connor Sullivan, all from right Southwest Montana. 2 other guys were big-time recruits from Bozeman as well. There's some good guys in Butte. I mean, how does that change your recruiting philosophy, or how does it help you when you have so many guys close to home like that?
Well, I think it's great. I mean, wherever they are in Montana, though, Coulter, they're our hometown recruits. You know, I mean, it doesn't matter if they're from Plentywood. I mean, we're going to go find them and recruit them. You know, Joel Fuller and Heath Howard came from far points of the state of Montana, and you know, I guess the distance factor can be a question for some of those guys, but in Montana, that's less of a factor than a lot of other places I know. We're used to doing distances here, so it's nice when the best players are right close to home, I guess, but we'll still recruit the whole state.
Coach, it's 2014, yet schools are still using a fax machine to get these in. Is that weird or still kind of cool?
You know what, we went halfway there this year. We sent all of our scholarships out electronically this year. Probably saved, we figured it probably saved us about $750. We used to FedEx them out and then put a FedEx return envelope in there to send back, so every guy was all of that money, and we sent them electronically. Coach Marshall tried to get us to do it last year. He's our techie guy, him along DePrado is too, but he tried to get us to do it last year, and we just were too nervous as old timers to do it. This year we did it, and we sent them out electronically. We did fax them back, but I think next year we'll see how much it costs to get the app, and we'll let them sign them on their phones. That'll be the best way to get that. That'll be the best way.
Coach, you had 4 stud D linemen in this class, 2 straight Buck Buchanan Award winners. I mean, how much do you think that national prominence of that award helped you guys land?
I have to let Bo answer that one.
You know,
A lot.
Really, we got 5 guys. You know, you got Tyrone, Wawa, Garrett, and Tucker, and Zach Wright. So we got 5 coming, you know, and I think that it helped, you know, when you have guys that have national acclaim like that, it was easy to go into schools and show them and say, hey, you know, this is what's happening here. And but I think the biggest thing from my standpoint is that it's like I want it to continue. I don't want it to be a splash that happened way, you know, in the 2010, 11, 12 season. Let's keep this thing rolling. But yeah, kids would pipe up and look at you, and I think that's what you know, a guy like Isidore Outing, when he came on his trip, was interested in, and but also with the late guy Garrett coming on also. But the other thing is, I think that they want to be part of it, you know, and it'll challenge the guys that are here too, you know, to pick it up. So I'm excited for it, you know, but that's definitely something that helps.
Can you talk a little bit about Garrett? He's a guy that he's listed as a freshman, but he graduated in 2013.
Yeah, he graduated in 2013. We recruited him last year. You know, Coach Ione was on him, and Coach is a stickler about writing notes and stuff. And he was going to gray shirt. Arizona State put him on a plan to gray shirt, so he did not sign with them. And the plan ended up working out about a week too late for Arizona State. He didn't get the work done until a week after he had to get there, so Arizona State had to let him go. And Garrett said he thumbed through his shoebox and remembered the guys that were good to him, and he was searching for Coach's card and found it, and called Coach up and said, hey, you know, it's Garrett Marino, and they are actually in California, Kane and Coach together. And he called me and said, you remember Marino? I was like, heck yeah. And that it just kind of worked out, you know, that he was ready to go. The plan was in place. We had everybody here look at the paperwork. It was fine. He was eligible. He came and visited this last weekend, and I wanted to go home with him. We just held on tight, but he loved it. He was a snowboarder type guy. He had offers from Michigan State and Fresno still looming, and he just fell in love with it here, and a lot for what you said there, and the relationship that was already built between Coach and Kane, that really helped as well. You know, Coach Ione did a good job of going in the house and selling the parents on it, and he had a good visit when he was here, and it was over, and we kept it quiet.
Another guy that got big-time FBS interest was Wawa Leota, but he was projected maybe as an offensive player at the FBS.
Yeah, Wawa had offers from Auburn and Kentucky, San Diego State, a few others, North Texas, I think, and the Auburn and Kentucky things were focused more on the fullback situation. You know, we were brought to him, you know, the name came up through our connection with Euless, obviously with Na'a being his cousin, Aaron Barnett was friends with him, and it just kind of sparked an interest, and then we looked at the film and we're like, yeah, right. It just snowballed, and we sold him on coming and playing D-line here, and you could be a national prospect here and make a big splash, but you can also play fullback too. And I know Cramsey's already talking about putting Garrett Marino and Wawa back in there. And we'll definitely get 2 yards, I hope.
How would you describe Garrett's ability?
It's unbelievable. I think that he is a truly a Pac-10 type of player. I think that he is a guy that was being recruited by the right schools. I don't want to say that and dumb us down a little bit, but the schools that we're recruiting him, the Michigan States of the world and things, he has the ability to excel at that level. And so now he's got to keep that ability here and play to his ability and not to the person across from him at times. And I think that he's also going to find that there's a lot of good players in the Big Sky also. He may have been able to dominate the high school level, and the first time that he gets stoned on a block will be shocking to him. And it's going to happen. It's going to happen in practice here. And can he climb and reach the next level and can sustain and keep going? But he's a good-looking cat. He's got the biggest traps I've ever seen. He's a funny guy, but yeah, he's tremendously talented.
Coach Sendon asked Coach Ash, it's 2014, but many commits are signing their letters of intent via fax. Is that kind of weird or kind of still kind of unique?
I love it. I was the guy fighting Coach on the whole FedEx thing. I was worried to death. We rolled through Texas, and I asked him, I said, how many emails are you going to get? And they said none. And but it ended up working out well. But I think the fax machine will always be part of it. You just got to have a good one, and it's kind of fun to see what rolls through because you don't know who it is until you turn the paper, and then it's exciting to see. So there's some drama in it. It's fun.
Some of us aren't 23.
Coach, the second year as the recruiting coordinator. So did things get easier this year?
I think we did change a couple things. I don't think everybody understands how many people are tied into this thing, between equipment and the weight room. The academic people downstairs are unbelievable with what they have to do, admissions across the way. We got to get the professors involved and on time and give their time up to it. And then you talk about in town, at the restaurants, at the hotel, and our guys that are tied into it too. One thing that we ended up doing is that first weekend, because our calendar changed, that was something new we hit, to have 25 guys hit town. We didn't think we were going to get that. And then to have the class stick of all 25 that came was impressive. And that was a weekend that just really kind of flowed through, and I was scared to death because I think we had about 15 guys on one airplane coming out of St. Louis with the weather issues. And they all got here, one plane from Denver, one plane from Salt Lake, and they all unloaded, and then Grant drove over, and we had a good weekend. But yeah, President Cruzado, she comes in and it is a big plus. She's a big hit. And, so it's just the culmination of all those things together, and then having Colleen and having Nate Parsigian was huge. That's something that we didn't have last year as much involved in helping me plan it while I was on the road. And so I think we got a formula in place that we'll always tweak a little bit, but don't fix it if it's not broken.
Coach, that week with, I think, 9 commits out of that first class that came and visited here. Is that unusually successful?
Actually, we got 13 out of the 25.
13?
Wow. Yeah, 13 out of the 25 that committed, and then out of that, there were 4 guys that we ended up dropping. Okay, so out of the 12 that didn't come, there were 8 of them that 8 out of the 25 that actually chose another school over us, and so I was really happy about that. With numbers, you wonder if you're going to have time to make the personal connection or not, but we did, and I thought it was a great return.
Coach, back in 2000, I think 8 or 9, you guys put a bunch of guys from Texas on a plane too. Narius McGee, Preston Gale, David Abercrombie, Everett Gilbert, Darius Jones, all those guys. Was that weekend kind of reminiscent of that to you?
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, Coulter, because they all run together at my age, at this point. But that was a pretty good year, and those guys were huge, and hopefully this group of guys will be just as good. The important thing, though, about all this, we talk about Montana kids, Texas kids, all that, but they're all Bobcats now. And I think one of the reasons for our success is when they get here, they're no longer a Texas kid, really, or a Montana kid. They're a Bobcat, and our guys all pull together, and they kind of forget after a while who's from where when they're lining up and playing ball.
How many visits, how many kids actually came to visit?
41 on official visits.
41 official.
Yeah, and that included some of our walk-ons that came on official
you got
visits.
how many of
We had
those?
31 plane trips, 41 visits, so 10 people drove in. And out of the 41, again, some of those were walk-ons and they haven't been announced yet, so it's going to be skewed a little bit. I think that, well, the list is 23. All those guys came on official visits except Bryson Keaton. He actually did his before Christmas, so if we count that, it was 42. And then Anthony Knight never came on a visit. We went down and saw him. So 21 out of probably 35 or something. So that's a pretty good return. 21 out of about 35.
Last year you guys get Tanner Roderick from Nevada, and you just mentioned Bryson Keaton and Anthony Knight. Is there a Nevada connection going now?
Absolutely, that's how it works, yeah. I mean, the guys know each, you know, Bryson knew Roderick, and that was a big part of his decision, and Anthony, he knows that, knows Bryson and Tanner, and, you know, he said to us, he said, those are the kind of guys I want to hang around with. They're, you know, better friends than the friends I have now. And so he's very interested and very anxious to come and reconnect with those guys. It's a little bit like our Euless Trinity connection that produced the 2 transfers with Trey Robinson and Aaron Barnett, and now Wawa really has a transfer from Tyler Community College. You know, the high school guys, they know their teammates and that are off at other schools, and when something starts to fall apart, they're the first ones who know, and you get the information early on a good transfer, you've got a much better chance to get them.
Coach Beck, what, in your opinion?
Did you guys enter into that cautiously, and when did he come back on your guys' radar?
Well, he was back on our radar as soon as we found out there was nothing about that incident that we would need to be worried about, but it was too late.
When was that? When did you?
It was last summer, and it was quickly resolved, but it was too late. We had already moved on. So he's been in the wings for a long time. But he did a good job. He went to Riverside Community College, played well, did a good job for those guys, stayed active, stayed in the game, and graduated. So he became a 4.24 transfer, and he did all the things he's supposed to do, and he's ready to go.